Hey, boys and girls, our lesson this week is 9-3. It's called Sharing Muffins. We're going to be looking at dividing things into parts like we worked in our last lesson. So our first question says, a teacher is preparing to cut a piece of paper into 3 equal shares to use in an art project. The teacher drew dotted lines to show where to cut. 2 children are talking about the paper. Jalen says, the paper is 3/3. Leela says, no, it's not. It's 1 whole. Who is correct? So let's look at it. It is divided into 1, 2, 3 equal pieces. And I've put up the chart that we made last week that shows the different ways that we can name those 3 parts. If we're looking at all of them, we can call them 3/3, we can call them 3 out of 3 parts, or we can call them 1 whole. So who's correct? Well, both children are essentially correct because we can call that 3/3, or we can call it 1 whole. All right, we're going to define a couple things before we move on to the other word problems for our lesson today. So the first thing we need to talk about is a fraction. We've been talking about fractions. Fractions are when we divide something into parts. It's the number of parts out of a whole. So the top number of a fraction is called the numerator. That's the part that we're looking at or using. And the bottom number is called the denominator. That's the whole. So if I ate 1 of the 4 parts of this muffin, that's 1/4. That would be 1 out of 4 pieces. All right, we also need to know what a mixed number is. A mixed number is when we have a whole number, a whole amount of something, and also a fraction. So in this case, we have 2 whole muffins, and we've divided this muffin down here into 4 parts, and we're just using 1 of those 4 parts. So this would be 2 and 1/4. That's how we would say that mixed number. So in this word problem, Anna and Sammy want to share 3 muffins. Use the circles below to show how they can share the muffins fairly. Describe in words how much is in each child's share. So I want you to pause the video and think for a minute, how could 2 people share these 3 muffins fairly? That means they would each get the same amount. Well, I would label one of these muffins for Anna and one of them for Sammy because there's enough where they could each have their own muffin. That leaves us with 1 muffin left over. How many pieces would we need to divide that into so they each get the same amount? We need to divide it into 2 pieces, and that would make each piece 1/2. Now, if I was going to describe in words how much each child got, I would say each child gets 1 whole muffin and 1/2 of another muffin. So they each get 1 and 1/2 muffins. That's that mixed number that we talked about earlier. 1 whole and a part of another. Now we have 4 children that want to share 5 muffins. So we need to show how they can share those muffins fairly. That means they all get the same amount again. And also describe in words how much is in each child's share. So I want you to pause the video here and I want you to try this one on your own. Now again, I would give each child 1 whole muffin because we have enough. There are 4 children where they could each get their own. And then that leaves us again with this 1 extra one. So how would we need to divide that so that each of those 4 children get the same amount? Well, we need to divide it into 4 pieces. That would give us 4/4. So if we were going to describe in words, again, we would say each child gets 1 whole muffin and 1/4 of another. So they get 1 and 1/4 muffins each.